Right. So I made a specs video recently about the DJI Pro 3, which I think dropped last night, and this was made about 4 or 5 days ago. Now, a couple of days ago, Drone DJ decided to release another leaked article on the Pro 3, and it's pretty much different to what I made, and sad guy. Anyway, we're gonna jump into this video with the new leaks and specs of the DJI Pro 3. Now, the initial photos look really bizarre. It states in the article that they couldn't share the photos, so they did like a sketched, I suppose, concept of what it actually looks like. Well, it's not a concept, but this is meant to be a sketch of what it looks like. So now there are leaked photos of it with the shell a few weeks back, and there's a couple of little air vents at the back. The sketch photo actually looks quite close to this because it does have that vent at the back as well. So these are possible leaks, so take them with a grain of salt as well. As always, the almighty Oshita LV did release some specs back in November 2020 of the Pro 3, and it looked nothing like what we're seeing today. Same again, like I said, take these leaks with a grain of salt, but it's really good to speculate some of these things, especially with the whole world situation going on right now. Take our focus off that and put it to, you know, stuff that we love, the nerdy stuff. So let's go into this article and break down exactly what they're actually saying. Now, one of the major things that jumps out at me right now is the camera setup. Now, this is a very, very interesting camera setup. It is pretty much a dual camera setup. It reckons it's a Hasselblad dual camera. There's one at the bottom and one at the top. Whether that is a longer focal length and a wider focal length, which is what I was actually saying in my last video, I would really love a telephoto one and a wide one, because that would be fantastic to choose in between both. But whether that runs off the same sensor, the same Hasselblad sensor, it really, really depends. But I don't know how they're going to be putting two lenses and going into the same sensor. That's past me. Now, it does say the top one has a 7x zoom. That is ridiculous, and I really don't know how they're going to be doing that, but if that's true, then that's pretty damn cool, because you could get some really, really, really cool parallax effects with this. If it is a 7x zoom, is it an optical zoom or is it a digital zoom? So now the lower camera has a 5.7K image sensor at the 24mm at an f2.8. So it's a wider 5.7K, whether it does 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second. Like I said in the last video, the Air 2S does 5.4K at 30 frames per second. So it has to be better than the Air 2S. And yeah, 5.7K, 60 frames per second should be a standard in this one. And it does say here that there is a 16mm adapter lens. Now, I was saying in my last video that it would be really cool if you could change the lenses on this. And putting a 16mm lens on this, you know, wider sensor would be phenomenal. All it needs to be is like a filter designed by DJI and chucking it directly on the front, just like a wide angle lens. So really hope this is true. That would be really interesting as well. Now, this one is really hard to believe, and it does say 1 terabyte internal memory. 1 terabyte. I don't even... No. There is no chance. There is no chance that there's going to be 1 terabyte internal memory. Well, there is a chance, but I don't think so. In this thing right here, in the Air 2S, it's 8 gigabytes internal memory. 1 terabyte is a ton. 1 terabyte. I don't think that's gonna happen. That's crazy, crazy. So it does say 40 minutes of flight time. So this one is quite interesting because I was saying in my last video, you know, 30 to 35 minutes or 35 to 40 minutes is perfectly fine, because you do just swap out the batteries anyway. You don't want the thing to last 50, 60 minutes. You're up there for 30, 40 minutes anyway, and it is quite a long time. And if you do need to change battery, you just drop it down, change battery, perfectly fine. So 40 minutes, yeah, it's fine. I'm perfectly happy with 30 to 35 minutes or, you know, something like that. so that's perfectly fine. So it reckons the battery mount will be from the back. So as you can see here, the batteries have been from the top, so you pretty much take it out from the top, where it reckons it's going to be just like the Mini 2, where you pull it out from the back. Whether that's the case, doesn't really matter. It's just a cosmetic thing. It really depends on their design. The one thing about the shell that was leaked a while ago with those two vents is that it is completely smooth at the top, so it does look like it was going to be a rear-mounted battery design, just like the Mini 2. Now it does say it'll use the same radio as the Air 2S, so whether it's got that same OcuSync, it really depends, but OcuSync, I think it's at 3.0, 4.0 right now, I can't remember, but it's perfectly fine. It does really, really well at the moment. You know, you get that 12 kilometer range, which is super, super far. You are meant to fly your drone line of sight anyway, legally. So 12 kilometers, I don't think anyone can see 12 kilometers long when it comes to something that small. But this one says they've removed the side sensors, which is really interesting, but I'm assuming they might do something like they did with the Air 2S and have, you know, those front top sensors. They can actually do the top as well. So these ones are probably mounted slightly on the side where they can have a little bit more of a wider range when it comes to sensing. So it doesn't have to be directly onto the side, but it can be on the front, which can get like 180 degrees, which would technically get the full, you know, front and side. So whether it's like that, we don't know. So it also says the gimbal now has an integrated automatic lock. So you can see here, the gimbals do flop around quite a lot with these ones, whether it does have like a locking mechanism where it locks in, kind of like what you see on regular handheld gimbals where there's a little locking latch and it locks all the axes in place. That could be cool to have that, and then you don't have to have the gimbal protector when you go traveling. It does get a little bit annoying because sometimes you forget to unlock it and you turn the gimbal on. So hopefully there's like a sensor there and it doesn't overload the gimbal when you try and turn it on, that kind of thing. That would be a cool feature to have anyway. Now, the last one is a new smart controller that will be released in it. I don't have the smart controller. I know some people that do have the smart controller. This would be quite annoying if there was a brand new one and it only worked with that one. If you are going to bring a new smart controller out, you still need to make sure that whoever has the previous smart controllers will still be able to use the Pro 3 with their previous controllers. If they are trying to get people to upgrade into the newer smart controller, that sucks, and that is something like this company does quite a lot. Release a new product and something proprietary. You can only use stuff like that, which is why I've had this thing for, I think it's a MacBook Air 2015, so it's like 6 years old now. I don't have any Mac products anymore because, yeah, they get a bit annoying. And DJI sometimes are very similar when it comes to that. But yeah, these are pretty much the latest leaked videos or photos when it comes to Drone DJ. So like I said, take it with a grain of salt. Whether it's true or not, who knows, but it'll be really interesting to see if there is a 5.7K resolution sensor, 24mm aperture f2.8. That 7x zoom is pretty interesting with that one. But we'll leave it there. And yeah, comment below if you think this is true. Comment below if you have heard of something else. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, let's get it.